starting a little late. I couldn't get the car to start. I had to get my daughter up to help me jump start it. She doesn't move very quickly in the morning. So I apologize for getting started. I'm Stephen DeLaRoche. I'm the Special Code Enforcement Magistrate for the City of Daytona Beach Shores, and we're here for code enforcement hearings. The way this works is I will call a case. If the person is here, I will take the case. If the person is not here, we'll put it toward the end because I believe in taking care of the people that are here first, and anybody that didn't show up, we'll take care of them later. What happens is the city has the burden of proof. They will present testimony and evidence to me. Then it is your opportunity to ask them questions, to cross-examine them. After the city has exhausted all of their witnesses, then it is your turn. You can testify yourself. You can show me photographs. You can show me documents. You can call witnesses on your own behalf. If at any time you are unsure what is going on, just raise your hand and I will tell you what your options are. I can't give you legal advice, but I can tell you you have the option to turn left, right, or go straight. Okay? All right. First thing that we have to do is we have to prove the minutes of the last meeting. Does anyone have a controversy with the minutes of the last meeting as they were written? Okay, seeing no objection, meetings will be accepted and passed. The first case we have today is property owner Daytona Ocean Investment Corp. It is case SCDEF 2023-11. Do we have anybody here for Daytona Ocean Investment Corp? James what?
Jay Matwani.
Okay. All right. Ms. Herstein? Sir, you may want to move up to the front row. You don't have to, but you have a better chance at seeing and hearing what's going on if you do.
You said they had to present first, so I did.
Well,
Would you like me to be at the podium at the same time?
No, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will tell you that the first 4 cases out of 5 have authorized representatives present, so we can actually go in order. And
Oh, excellent, great. And it's a non-conforming sign case, I see.
This first one is yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'd first like to ask
First, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to ask that each of the documents included in this PowerPoint file, whether presented during the hearing or not by the city for this case, be accepted as evidence, most of which have been provided to the special magistrate and all of which have been provided to the respondent or the rest.
Okay.
In this case, the respondent.
Sir, the state is asking for the packet to be placed into evidence. Do you have a legal objection to having it put into evidence?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you. Then it'll be accepted into evidence. All right, please proceed.
Actually, I'm so sorry, but I will be bouncing back a little bit, so I
Yeah.
appreciate your.
Well, I'll just answer you from down here then, is that right?
Nope. When it's your turn, you can have the podium. Get your party po in today, jumping up and down.
Okay. Your Honor, this is a first and second compliance hearing, both a first and a second compliance hearing, which means we will be looking for 2 orders to come out of this at the end.
Okay.
This property came before you July 13th. It was this year. It was found in violation and given 2 months to become compliant or fines of $150 per day would begin. 6 days later, property owner Mr. Matwani, who's here today, emailed to say he missed the hearing and was hoping for a rehearing. Based on the provided reason, I was unable to offer a rehearing on the city's part. I did include that email.
I've read everything in the packet.
I did black out the particular language just because it was of a private nature, but it was a scheduled, something that was scheduled, so that's why it did not reach the rehearing threshold.
Okay.
But, I did block it out, just so you can see that email was sent though. September 12th, rather, was the compliance date that you had ordered. I re-inspected the next day, found the sign had remained. An affidavit of non-compliance was generated, and you can see that on 4/8/13. Mr. Matwani sent pictures in the email on September 21st of the sign having been taken down the day before. He sent that picture and then a picture of it not being where it used to be, and that was, in his email, he stated on September 20th, he sent that on the 21st, that was nice. An electrical permit application, which was also required to cap off the signs electric, was submitted on September 21st. It was reviewed, turned around, and then obtained also on the 21st, and then the final inspection passed the next day for that. The affidavit of compliance you can see on 4A21.
Okay.
This left the sign non-compliant September 13th through the 21st, or 9 fine days, for a total accrued fine of $1,350. Good service was achieved on the notice of first and second compliance hearing, with affidavits included in the submitted evidence. We're looking for 2 orders today because this is like I said, a first and a second compliance hearing. First is an order imposing the fine and lien with an order number 11. That's a copy of the sign permit and the
Okay.
inspection that was done. The first order that's requested is, as I said, an order number 11. Then either an order 12 or for the full fine amount, or an order number 13 reducing or resizing the fine. While not tied to either, we do request that the administrative fees of $142.09 be paid from the initial hearing, and that additional administrative fees of $142.19 be paid for this hearing, with affidavits that you can see on 4A38 and 4A39, and that's a total requested administrative fee of $291.28.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Motwani, do you have any questions for the city?
No.
Okay. Ms. Herstein, do you have any other witnesses?
Not, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Motwani, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yes, I just, what I would like to say is, there's been ongoing negotiations and discussions with the city about this project. Obviously, I'm not gonna repeat it, but everyone went through some serious hurricane damage from Ian and Nicole. Our properties were severely damaged. Our resources were being used to, mitigate our damage and fix our roofs and our seawalls. This, unfortunately, while it's been on the docket to be taken care of, it came at compliance of it came at a very difficult time for a lot of property owners.
What about you? I'm not interested in anybody else, I'm just
Even for me,
interested about you.
even for me, it did, it absolutely did. But I'll tell you something else, our property's probably gonna be knocked down, to be honest with you. This one, it suffered significant damage. And we've been with ongoing negotiations with the city to redevelop the property. And moving the sign was not an option for us, because where the new sign would have to go in the redevelopment, it would be in the way of the drive lane. It would be in the traffic lane of the property. So it would make absolutely zero sense to take the bond or take I guess there was an incentive, sign incentive, a grant. We would have never been able to meet the requirements for the grant due to the fact that the new sign was gonna be in the redevelopment of the project. So with all that being said, I couldn't make the meeting also due to the fact of some personal issues. Tried to get a rehearing, but I guess it didn't meet that. So I'm okay with the administrative fines, but I don't think I should be charged with fines. I am in compliance, and I understand there's a procedure cost to do the procedure, but I'd like to pay for the 2 procedures, but I would like for the fines to be waived.
Why?
Because I'm in compliance, I've been in communication with the city throughout this. There is an ongoing future impact economic increase in this economy and for the people with the new development we're gonna be doing, and there was just no way to adhere to, so right now we'll be signless, because putting a sign up right now in the drive aisle makes no sense.
Okay, is the property still being rented out?
Yes, it is.
Rented out, so it's still occupied. How long have you owned it?
Since 2015.
So 8 years?
7, 8 years, yeah.
Okay. Why wasn't the sign taken down in the 11 years that you had to do something about it?
Once again, the grant, we had up until a certain deadline, sir. And then we also had a grant that was there, which I told you, provide for. And then, we like the exposure. I mean, I don't want to open up that whole discussion here, but we really like the height. We really like the exposure. We feel feel the new sign ordinance is a detriment to the businesses. 8 foot, people can't see us. So we'd like the visibility and the exposure. And then obviously it's just been a plethora of things after that. COVID hit, and we had, financial constraints. And then obviously we had what's going on currently with the hurricane. So just been a plethora of things. But again, we want a candidate for the ordinance. We like the height, but we want to be in compliance with the city. We want to be a good business owner. So, we've gotten in compliance within 9 days of define.
Okay. I understand what you're saying, okay? This is what I'm willing to do. I've had a chance to read everything that the city provided. I've looked at everything. The only thing that I can see in here that quite honestly was not your fault was the one day that it took the city to come and re-inspect after your permit was done. So what I'm willing to do for you is take that one day away. I'm going to find that you were not in compliance for 8 days after the order that $1,200 be paid, so I'm removing $150. I know it's not everything you're asking for, but I am trying to help you out. Sherry, I'm going to issue an order number 11 with $142.09, and an order 13 reducing the fine from $1,350 to $1,200 with $142.19. So, thank you, sir. I appreciate you being here.
Okay.
Okay. Are you clear what I did? Sherry?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. If you're coming up here and you're asking me for a fine reduction, the only thing I can do is remove days that you are being fined. I can't feel sorry for you and take a percentage off or an arbitrary number. My ruling has to have a number of days attached to it. For instance, if in most of your packets, it'll say if you have a window that you have to do, and I've given you previously 60 days to get the window replaced, and the very next day you order it, and the manufacturer can't deliver it for 70 days, and you show me that those extra 10 days are not your fault because it's the manufacturer's fault, I'm inclined to take those 10 days away. But if you tell me, well, it was really expensive, or God forbid, say the word COVID to me again, there's nothing I can do for you. So it's a mathematical formula. Fine times number of days equals total. All you can control is the middle variable, and that's number of days. Okay, everybody clear on that? Because I don't want to take your money. I don't get it. Okay, I'd rather that you used it, but I have to have a good reason not to. All right, thank you, that being said. All right, next case is Property Owners Beachside Coastal LLC, case CDEF 2023-05. Is there a representative?
Yes, sir.
And your name?
Mike Pretzel.
Mike Bristol?
Pretzel, like pretzel with a P.
Oh, okay, Mike Pretzel. Sorry, sir.
No worries.
Your Honor, I'd like to ask that each of the documents included in this PowerPoint file, whether presented during the hearing or not, by the city for this case, be accepted as evidence, most of which have been provided to the special magistrate, and all of which have been provided to the respondent or their rep. Mr. Bretzel does have, received yesterday an authorization for representing, basically not representing, I apologize, for answering questions that you may have.
Okay. All right, I appreciate that. Mr. Bretzel, were you provided with a packet?
Yes, sir.
Did you have a chance to look it over?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a legal objection to anything in the packet?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. It'll be accepted into evidence, Ms. Hurstein.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Please proceed.
Thank you. This is a first compliance hearing for non-compliance. This property was found at the July 13th initial hearing to have 24 violations over 7 different buildings on the parcel. 7 violations of those 24 were ordered to be corrected by September 12th, with the remaining violations to be corrected by January 15th of 2024. I met with Mike Bretzel on September 26th and found that two of the 7 violations had been corrected. I will show you pictures of those. A third needed final approval on an associated electrical permit, and the other 4 were also not fully compliant. An affidavit of non-compliance is on page 4B20. A notice of first compliance hearing was generated and sent, and good service was achieved for that notice. Affidavits can be found for that service in submitted evidence. I'd like to show the pictures and then proceed with my recommendation.
All right.
For an order number 11. Again, this is a layout of the property. I have numbered the buildings just because not all the building numbers are visible easily from adjoining properties or rights of way, and so I had to do that for ease of, rather than by unit. And so hopefully that's helping. Well, it helps me. I'm not sure it's helping anybody else, but I think it makes the city's position clear.
Okay, I understand. Is this a motel or apartment complex?
Yes.
Which?
One of those 2.
Okay,
I believe it is long-term rentals, Your Honor.
okay.
I said there are 7 buildings. There's actually a shed. You'll see that at the bottom, the south end, that's labeled 2.5. So they're actually 8. But... Okay, this is a screenshot of taken on October 14th of all the city permit activities since mid-2017. And you'll see everything above the red line has been more recent permits. And it demonstrates, and we could refer back to this if we need to, but that some of the items that need to be rectified under this permit, under this code enforcement action, are permitted and others are not. The violation A is one that was rectified, and so rather than looking building by building, that was of the faded truss signs on all the buildings, and I'll show you briefly that he has replaced, all of those have been replaced and are bright and legible, which is super important. That violation A is compliant as of September 26th, 2023.
Okay.
Violation F was the next of the 7 violations. You can see in the pictures on the left that there was debris in the form of deteriorated building elements south of the building, and that was of building 1. The pictures on the left show the non-compliance at follow-up, and then at the most recent inspection, you can see that that has all been removed. That's compliant. Violation K, the third of the 7 violations, door to unit number 3 is deteriorated, hole at the bottom. There was some effort to cover that to prevent it from being maybe accessed by rodents or bugs or anything else, but unfortunately it's a situation where the door needs to be replaced. You can see the gap along the top, and that remains still, and this picture was taken on the 26th showing that the chewed up bottom part of the door remains. It has not been replaced, nor has a permit been obtained for that replacement. Violation O, an electric weatherhead missing from the service mast. No drip loop was in place. That's for building 5. You can see in that follow-up inspection that there is a bright and shiny fix that was permitted. The permitting has not been final inspected and approved yet, and that needs to happen in order for me to deem that compliant. Violation P, this is to building number 6, where the other was building number 5. Unfortunately, this one has not been rectified. I have spoken with the property representative as of this morning, and he does plan to have the same folks who did the other also rectify this. Violation U, wall is not structurally sound, cracked and or leaning in places. And there were 2 walls that were under this, the wall on the north property line and the wall on the west property line. The wall on the north property line you can see in the upper left picture. It's actually leaning, it was leaning against that telephone pole. You can see it again in the bottom right picture where it's leaning on the phone pole and is struggling. The west wall you can see clearly in the bottom left picture, and those 2 joined at a 90-degree angle. And I will show you follow-up pictures. The west wall was actually sealed and painted, and that one looks great. There was an issue, though the leaning part was removed, it wasn't capped off or fully removed, and those were the two options. And I have been told since, by Mr. Bretzel, that has been done, so I'll go look at that today, hopefully to be able to say, yes, this is compliant based on what we see. There was an additional issue with the wall, and that is that there was a big open area that had been, had fallen and had never been restored. I have been told that that has been restored, and we'll look at that again today too. Violation W, the exterior light fixture using interior bulb southwest corner. I will look at that today. As of 9/26, the bulbs were removed, but new bulbs were not inserted, so it didn't actually satisfy fully the violation. It basically satisfied the one, but created another. So I have been told that there are now exterior bulbs properly in the fixture, which is great, and I will look at that today. We are requesting an order number 11 to impose fines with to impose the fines with an additional administrative fee added of $92.43. There's an affidavit for that amount on page 4B-34. To be added to the initial hearing fees, which remain unpaid, of $162.89, and that affidavit is on 4B-33. You have already imposed that.
Right.
second hearing.
All right. So Mr. Bretzel is only here to answer questions, not ask you questions. Okay. I'm satisfied, Ms. Herstein. Do you have any other witnesses?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Bretzel, first question I have is why wasn't the administrative fee paid within 30 days?
I'll get the girls in the office to do it. I apologize. I thought that they had taken care of it.
Okay. All right. I see you've made some progress, and that's very encouraging. But any particular reason why some of the simpler things, like if you put one electrical mast in, why didn't you put two?
So the electrical mast was done by Parks Electric, and I had assumed all along that FPL had done that. And if they're trying to get in touch with FPL, they weren't responding because, of course, we need an electrician to call them. So it's done with Parks Electric and FPL, and I thought only FPL did it. Until I got the notice that Parks hadn't called for their final inspection on the other electrical, I didn't realize Parks had done it. Like I said, I thought FPL did it. But I talked to Parks the other day, they went out, they looked at it, they're gonna apply for a permit this afternoon for that. So it was just my mistake, I thought FPL did that, I didn't know the Parks
Okay.
did it, but they do it together.
I just thought it was odd that you fixed one and the one next door you just let.
No, well, the first one wasn't, the one that was finished wasn't in the first meeting where she said, hey, this is going on here. That was later when I found out there was no permit. There was no final call on that permit. That's when I realized Parks had done the work.
Okay. All right. Ms. Herstein, anything you want to add?
I'm sorry, but the last part about the first one not being in the first hearing, I did have a question about that. If you will look at the early on in the list, I just want to make sure that you are able to see both. I'll show you. Both are listed, they're separate violations, but Building 5 and Building 6 are both listed. I just wanted to make sure that he was confident that we haven't added anything.
No, I didn't think you added anything. I remember that the
O
first
and
one was
P.
just done before, yeah.
Gotcha, violations O and P.
Yeah, no, I didn't think that.
Thank you.
No worries.
Okay. All right. Mr. Bretzel, I really appreciate you being here and answering my questions. I'm going to find that you're not in compliance with the first order, or that fines of $250 a day run. This is in order number 11, just like the city's requesting. The $162.89 within 7 days, please.
I'm sure that's not.
$92.43 within 30.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sherry, is that clear?
162 in 7 days, and then 92 in 30?
Yes, please. Okay.
Parks has already approved that permit too. Yes. Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank
case is the property owner 72-74 Lafayette Avenue Realty Corp. Case SCDEF 2023-14. And sir, you are?
Daniel Nathan?
Daniel Nathan. Okay. Are you the owner?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. And I see this is another pole sign.
This is actually, there are two on today's agenda for initial hearings, and they're the last two non-conforming signs that have not been before His Honor at this point. So
Oh,
these
okay.
are the last two that we,
Well, it only takes 11 years to make something happen.
they were making progress, so I gave them the time and space to do that. And so
Okay.
unfortunately, they either stalled or here we are. I'd like to ask that each of the documents included in this PowerPoint file, whether presented during the hearing or not, by the city for this case, be accepted as evidence, most of which have been provided to the special magistrate, and all of which have been provided to the respondent or their rep, in this case, the respondent.
Okay, Mr. Nathan, did you have a chance to look over the packet?
Yes.
And do you have a legal objection?
No.
Okay, then I'm going to accept it into evidence. Was this the old cowlicks?
It's still.
Oh, but it
When
had
you
the
say
little
old,
cute cow with the licking the
long
ice cream on it?
Cowlicks, yes.
Is that, I loved that sign. I wondered what happened to it until I saw this picture. I thought that was adorable.
Hurricane happened to it, unfortunately. This is an initial hearing for non-conforming sign. This is one of the final two, as I said, non-conforming signs which remain but have not been before you. This property owner for the sign was sent letters as the periods granted by the city commission clicked away, basically about the removal of the sign over the last 11 years and before. The sign cabinet and bases were damaged in the 2022 hurricanes, but the sign was not removed and was still in place after the April 9th, 2023 extended deadline for removal had passed. A notice of violation was sent in July and good service was achieved. I was made aware shortly after the notice of violation was received that the sign company Thermocraft was working on a solution for keeping the reduced portion of the sign. The submitted sign permit application for this fix came in, was submitted less than a month later. The permit was obtained in mid-August, and the sign was finally altered after at least one false start. It was squeezed in for final inspection yesterday, but unfortunately failed because the approved plans didn't match the actual sign, which was left in place, unfortunately. The statement of violation, request for hearing and notice of hearing were sent, and the property was posted. Good service was achieved on that mailing as well, 14 days before the hearing. I would like to call Steve up to the podium before making a recommendation.
Okay. Before we do that, Mr. Nathan, do you have any questions for Ms. Hurstein?
No.
Okay. All right. Morning, Mr. Evans. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the true self you got?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve. If you wouldn't mind, please stating your name for the record, your position with the city, and how long you've been employed by the city.
Steve Edmonds, I'm the building official for the city of Daytona Beach Shores, and I've been here 20 years.
Thank you, Steve. Would you please state for the record whether everything that you've seen for this case is an accurate representation of anything that you might have created over the case, or the facts as you're aware of them?
Yes.
And can you tell us briefly, did you do an inspection yesterday at the property?
Well, I sent my inspector to do the inspection the first time. He called me on it. The sign company called me later complaining about the height. I went out there and remeasured it, and I found it to be too high.
How high was it?
Technically 1'4" high.
1 foot more, so it was 9 feet rather than 8
It was
feet?
9'4".
9'4", and it can only be 8, correct? And of the original sign, you have the ice cream cone in a pink square. Did they keep that and everything below it, or?
Yes, they kept everything from the top of the ice cream cone down.
Okay. And unfortunately, that's too high.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Edmonds, did the sign as it stood match the plans? Because it was approved, right?
No, it did not match the plans.
Okay.
What were the original plans?
The original plan showed an elevation of actually 8 foot from the radius that's on the planner beside it. That's hard to see in the photos. And when we measured it, it was 8'8" at that point.
So somebody looked at the old sign and hoped it would fit.
Yeah, tried to make what was there work without cutting more, basically. It's
Okay.
because it'd have to come out of the base or something like that.
Well, I get that, trying to save some money.
Right.
And finally, Steve, are you aware, is there a possibility of any options that Mr. Nathan can seek certain approvals to?
They can adjust the planter height to help. They can get a variance for some of it. The community services director is allowed to do a variance up to 10% of the dimensions.
Okay.
So there's that can happen too. Or they can hopefully cut the base down and make it work.
So 96 inches and it's
16.
16 inches. So they could get 9.6 inches but not 16 in a
Right.
variance. Okay, all right.
Anything else to add to help the magistrate with his decision?
Not this time, no.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Do you have any questions for him?
Yeah, real quick, I'm not, obviously not a sign person, but speaking to the owner of Permacraft, he said that if we build up the plant
Excuse me.
so that from the top of the plant.
I'm sorry. Oh,
He needs to come up to the microphone.
yeah, all right, sorry.
Sorry.
You can't be heard. Okay. Mr. Nathan, this is your chance to ask Mr. Edmonds questions,
Yes.
not to testify. Okay.
Yes, thank you. I just want to be clear because I've been trying to get everything in compliance, that if the planter height is raised so that the top of it, the top of the sign is 8 feet, will be good to go.
Yes, we can accept that. If you raise the planter up, fill it with dirt,
Yeah.
make sure the plants are back around it. you know,
Right.
Some small plants or something in that area,
Mhm.
then yes, it would be acceptable.
Okay. Would also a stone be acceptable in it to provide better drainage and hopefully keep the,
As long as you have the number of plants around the outside of the sign, yes.
Yeah.
I would like to step in and say, because he would not be the reviewer of those plans, so it's probably best, there are some options for you. I propose to give you enough time to work those out with the city planner,
Okay, with Nicole?
with Noel.
No.
Noel, I'm sorry.
That's okay,
Still
that's
early,
okay. I
but
just,
still
I hate
working on my
to have
coffee.
Steve, who's not gonna be the ultimate reviewer.
Right, I get it.
He's aware of the options, but I'd hate to have him say, yep, that's gonna be fine, when he's not the one who
Okay.
would be signing.
I understand. I also know that it's very rare you get to talk to a government official in a setting where you have time to ask them questions and they answer you, so that's why I let it go a little bit.
He's very available for you, as is Noel.
Yes. No,
Okay.
I'm fine with
Any
it.
other questions?
No, I'm just trying to get everything
All right.
smooth.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Nathan, is there anything you'd like to tell me? If you are, I'm going to put you under oath.
The only thing is that, I'm working with the city and the sign company, trying to make it work. And, the sign's been there 24 years and trying to save what I can on it.
I get it, and it seems like there's a clear path to you being able to retain the majority of it without any real expense coming, so, anything else?
I'd like to be able to reserve the funds for other improvements to the property.
Well, then you've got to get done what you need to do within the time I give you, and then you only have the administrative fee.
Okay?
It's very reasonable. Okay, all right. I'm going to find there's a violation, issue an order number 11. Do you have a model? Yes.
We have made a recommendation, and it's in order number 7 that we're asking.
Oh, 7, I'm sorry.
I was gonna ask for 30 days, because I was aware that there was a final inspection yesterday, but knowing that there are different options, and Mr. Nathan may go a few different ways, I'd like to extend that to 90 days for January 17th compliance date.
Okay.
And the administrative fees of $162.89, and there's an affidavit on 5A31, sorry to interject.
All right, so the city is asking me to find you in violation, give you 90 days to fix the violation, which you went from 30 to 90, which is quite generous. If you do not fix it, I have to put a fine for $150 a day. As you've seen already today, I don't like to do that, but I have to do that.
Understood.
Okay, and so in order number 7, $162.89 is the administrative fee. Can you pay that within 30 days?
Yes.
Okay,
One quick question. Will I
Sure.
receive a bill statement, or do I just have to remember the dollar amount and bring a check to the city?
I have no idea. Let me ask.
Your verbal order, when it
Right.
gets reduced to writing, and then you sign it, it is sent. It comes back to the city, and then we send that out. And so everything that you've said is in that order, and including the dollar amount and the
Okay.
number of days. Further, if you leave that at home and just show up and ask him, we'll get you
Pull it
the
up and,
amount.
okay, good. Just my memory isn't always great. I wouldn't want to transpose the cents or anything like that.
Appreciate it. We'll help. You can call, show up, whatever you want.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Mr. Nason. Okay. Next case is Halifax Investment Services LLC, CDEF 2023-24. Mr. Pickens, how are you?
Doing very well, thank you, Your Honor.
Good. Where's your engineer?
I wish he was here, but testimony would not do us any good.
Okay. All right. Have you had a chance to review the packet from the city? Although I did accept it into evidence last time, I was wondering if there were 9 pages of additions to it.
And a few other augmentations based on another month having passed.
Okay. Do you have a legal objection to anything in the packet coming into evidence?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Ms. Herstein, I did read over the packet, including the letter and photographs from a nice lady that wrote in, I do not remember, Deborah Gorney.
That's correct,
Okay.
Your Honor.
All right.
I did speak briefly before the hearing with Attorney Pickens. He had suggested, I don't want to put words in your mouth, especially if you've changed your mind, but rather than going through each of the pictures, they have, and the evidence, it has been introduced into the record, and that's all of the PowerPoints and the entire PowerPoint file that you were handed, even though we're not showing them, correct? Okay. He did say that he would possibly be amenable to stipulate that he didn't need the full presentation being offered. I don't
Okay.
want to put words in your mouth. I'm happy to show the pictures, I've got them.
All right.
I'm happy to show them for you if you'd like them as well.
Well, I've now read this same packet 3 times, so I'm very familiar with what's going on here. I have not gone and looked at the property, but I've seen the pictures enough that I understand. I think this one may have been on the news when the pool collapsed too, that I saw. So, is there a resolution the 2 of you have come to an agreement on?
We have not. I did make Attorney Pickens aware of the recommendation that I'd be making. So I would propose to do that now, if that's
Right,
acceptable.
this one bumps into turtle season, if I remember.
Correct, and that was at issue with the requested continuance last time. I have updated for the record, they're the same pictures from August, but then as a final picture slide, this was an updated record as of September for the last, because it was continued once, and then as it was continued a second time, I did provide an updated set of pictures from the east side of the property, and you're seeing everything the same or a little bit worse. Some of those trap bags are flatter than the.
Yeah, it struck me that they were starting to, probably not deflate, I imagine they're full of sand or rock or something.
Sure, and another part of the issue is that the sand level, which is great, but in this situation, it's not great. The sand level is actually rising. Some sand is being redeposited. The problem is that creates more of basically a ramp for any storm waters that are coming in.
Right.
it's not ideal. The recommendation that the city has is as it was before, which was a few different pieces, if I may. That the property rectify violations A through F, I through M, and O through T. The reason that's not all of them is that some smaller items have been rectified. Those are left off this list. Some others have been rectified, but permits have not been sought, and those are still on the list because they have not
Okay.
been permitted. So A through F, I through M, and O through T, rectified on or before April 30th, 2024, which is just over 6 months from today's hearing, including full completion of the new seawall with backfill complete and a copy of the final engineering certification submitted to FPEP, or the final engineering certification in our office, rather, along with obtaining approved final inspections on all required City of Daytona Beach Shores permits by April 30th, 2024. So that's basically not just visibly being done, but being signed off on as to matching the, having matched the engineering that was required, et cetera. Also, an administrative fee of $162.89 is being sought, and there's an affidavit in the packet. Further, for the peace of mind, over the next 6 months, we are requesting that the property cause a Florida licensed engineer to submit a signed and sealed evaluation of the safety of the site and the integrity of both buildings by the first day of each month until the restoration is complete. If the property owner decides the east building will be demolished, that must be accomplished with all debris removed and the demolition permit final inspected and approved with the new seawall and backfill complete and a copy of that final engineering certification submitted to our office, along with obtaining approved final inspections on all required city permits by April 30th. So basically same date. If they decide to demo the building, we'd like that to be also done with all of the debris removed by that same date, which is the day before the next furrow season starts. The reason that we're requesting the Florida licensed engineer to submit signed and sealed drawings by the first of every month is that there is at least one individual, either one and his specific, it's been approved for him to stay on site. No other people, it's not an open hotel, no other people should be staying there. At the same time, if he had a guest in his room, that's not for me to say. However, knowing that somebody is staying on the property gives us pause. Looking at the pictures gives probably anybody pause. And knowing that the place that we do know him to stay at times is that bottom right unit that's just.
I noticed the chairs have been moved in the pictures. I was wondering about that.
But we are requesting regular, that by the first of every month, engineering to help demonstrate to the neighbors, for the individual who's on site, for anybody else nearby, that it's still acceptable to stay the way that it.
Okay, I note that there were 4 copies of a letter by Charles Adams in my packet saying that the building was structurally sound. Are you looking for something beyond that?
Well, those were, as of the dates that they were signed.
July 28th.
Some of those were not signed and sealed, so we had to keep pushing back. And then we also had specifically said if somebody is allowed to stay on site, we want to know, are they allowed to be in that east building? Do they need to be in the west building? The office, which is a place that I've been told the security person, Mr. Cohen, stays, is all the way to the west. If that's the only place he is on the property, that's helpful information for public safety to know that he's limited to being there, and that's where they would look to find him. We received multiple versions of similar documents and kept asking for, the signed and sealed, the pieces that were missing until we got what we needed to not move forward against an individual staying on the property.
Okay, all right, I understand. Mr. Pickens, what would you like to do?
Well, Your Honor, we understand the timeframes that are involved and the violations and the severity of them.
I'm sorry.
As far as the,
Oh, could you please step up to the microphone?
as far as the city's recommendation, our only request would be, rather than having an engineer evaluation submitted every month, just for cost purposes, to have that be every other month, beginning December to February to April, rather than every month.
Okay, do you have any idea what your clients are going to do with this building?
At this point, it has not been determined. They understand that the seawall would be mandatory no matter what they do. So that's the direction that they're going to go right now.
Okay, so they're going to restore the seawall, that's their first project?
That is my understanding, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, I'm going to endorse the city's recommendation. I'm torn between every month and every other month as far as the engineering letter regarding the occupancy. How important to your client is the occupancy of this one person?
He's there for security purposes, and it is essential. If he is not there monitoring the property, it being the condition that it is an enticement to.
Okay, I understand. I did not know that he was security. I thought maybe he was somebody that owned a portion of it that.
No, he is solely there for maintaining the property that he can maintain, and to make sure that the property is secured.
Okay, I appreciate that. We've had buildings in similar situations where there was no one on site, and then that caused additional problems. I'm going to allow every other month. I understand the city's concern, but I also understand that they're going to have tremendous amount of costs here. Every other month will be fine. If the city determines something that this is not the best practice, I will revisit this between now and April 30th. But we'll start out with every other month. Other than that, the city's recommendation is approved, and the administrative fees, what were they, 169?
162.89.
Thank you, 162.89, within 30 days, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes.
will you clarify when you want those engineering reports to begin?
The first, let's see, this is October 19th? November, December 1st, please.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. And if either side has anything regarding this, I'm open to having it brought up and revisited as things progress. I understand your client may find things that are going to make their life more difficult, but again, turtle season takes it out of my hands. And if the city feels that for some reason the engineering sign-off every other month is not working or presents a danger, then I will revisit that as well.
Thank you. With respect about revisiting issues that the respondent or his representative has, generally, and I explained, and not generally, but as a rule, we follow the first and second compliance
Right.
hearing system, and I had told Attorney Pickens that I would provide that worksheet that he could use along the way if he chooses. I'm not certain that there would be anything else that
Well,
could
my thought
cause
is
the-
that if they knock it down, a lot of these violations are not important anymore. Like, for instance, where was it? There was,
Right, and that's
like the
built in-
windows broken on the southeast corner of the building. Well, if those windows no longer exist, then,
Of course, and that's built into the time frame as well. They have the same amount of time to knock it down. If they do it earlier, then that's better for everybody.
right. All right, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can I be excused?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, Last case, Gold Mountain Investments LLC, SCDEF 2023-15, Sandcastle Motel. Do not see anybody present. Ms. Herstein, have you had any contact with the owner?
I have, Your Honor, and he did provide an email that I'll refer to about his hopes for the outcome of today's hearing.
Okay.
I would like to ask that each of the documents included in this PowerPoint file, whether presented during the hearing or not by the city for this case, be accepted as evidence, most of which has been provided to the special magistrate. They have not been provided to the respondent or their rep, though many of the individual pieces through good service having been achieved have been provided to the rep, but as nobody is here today, I could not hand
Well,
them the
right.
individual pieces.
It is their responsibility to be here. Everything in the packet is accepted into evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an initial hearing for the last of the non-conforming signs to come before you. This sign was not brought to you earlier because the owner was in discussions with the city planner, Noel, to investigate all ways in which the owner might be able to keep this sign. She measured with him. It was in violation in multiple ways. Those multiple ways are listed as violations A through E. Tony has plans to, Tony is the property owner, Tony Tran, has plans to fully remove the sign, has had an electrical cap-off permit obtained since September 20th, but has not been able to move forward on it yet. Good service was achieved for both the notice of violation and statement of violation request for hearing. Affidavits are in the submitted evidence for good service. Tony sent an email confirming that he could have the sign fully removed, the area restored, and the electrical permit final approved by November 15th, and you can see that email, brief email on page 5C-31. I propose with an order number 7 to provide 60 days or until December 18th to achieve full compliance, and that gives him time to address the driveway paving is going to have to be augmented and fixed, and so it's a little bit multi-layered, and I think 30 days is aggressive considering he is at the mercy of the electrician as well.
Okay. All right.
We also request reimbursement of administrative fees in the amount of $162.89 and affidavits on 5C-29.
Okay. And I've had, of course, read out all of this. I'm going to find the violation, issue an order number 7, 60 days to comply, $162.89 within 30 days. All right, that is the last item on the agenda. I note that there is no November meeting, and our next meeting is December 7th, 2023 at 9 a.m. Why do we always skip November?
Because if we followed our normal schedule with November and December, it would be right around Thanksgiving and then right around Christmas, and who
Oh, I
who
see.
would
So you-
show up? I don't know if we have any of us here.
Right.
So I'd be here, but I'd be.
Yeah, I'm just conscious of our massive following on YouTube, and, you know, I don't want more cards and letters saying, why can't we have more code enforcement
I
hearings?
understand. Maybe we should offer some alternative content, like maybe a little musical skit or something.
Right. All right. Thank you, everyone. Again, I'm sorry I was late. The panic, yesterday Sandra had my car detailed as sort of a nice little gift, and the guy left everything on while he was detailing it. So when I got ready to get in it to go home from work, it wouldn't start. So I jump-started it, and then this morning it wouldn't start either. I figured just driving it home would be fine. I'm wondering if I'm going to need a new battery now.
Probably need to charge it because it's probably been so low that it needs to be charged to get it going again.
Well, one of the things I made sure of when I came in is I parked it so that if I have to jump-start it again, I don't have to push it backward.
You know what I noticed about all that is that it was his wife's fault.
No, it wasn't my wife's fault.